The matrix, the system of our human condition, the way we see the world, what we think we are is changing. Are new alliances or tensions emerging? Every empire goes up and comes down. It is the nature of evolution. That's why all the planets are round. Everything goes up and goes down. This planet is a circular evolutionary spiral that moves like this. We are evolving, believe me, but it doesn't appear that way when we go into a destructive era because evolution comes out of pain. The baby comes out when the mother is screaming. We can't forget that there's nothing wrong. Hi, I'm Deborah. I'm being interviewed today by Evelyn live, and we're going to talk about my favorite topics, which are astrology and what is happening on the planet. There's no question, as I described, that one world is going and another world is coming. And if anyone's given birth, which I have, mothers, you know that there's this moment where it feels almost like death. Like you're giving birth and there's this unfamiliar sensation of pain that's hardly speakable. And yet there's a miracle on the other side that you could never have predicted if you didn't know. So right now we don't know that the fires, the unbelievable hurricanes, the melting of the ice, the death of the coral, the end of the plastic being smothering our ocean, these are symptoms of the human's operating system being dated. I mean, it's hard to talk about, but the truth is you can ignore it, which I think our societies, every country tries to pretend business as usual. However, in your heart of hearts, you know that you were born for this, that you chose to come in to incarnate in the 2025 to 2030. These are the 5 years where the world will clearly be introducing AI and dismantling the old system because the governments are going to fall apart. Here in America, it's happening. In Israel, it's happening. It's happening in Ukraine. It's happening in Sudan. It's happening in Hong Kong. I mean, you can hardly go anywhere in the world without seeing that there is an old system that's dated. So the physical plane, the fires, the hurricanes, the ice melting, these are symptoms, these are indicators, clear, loud indicators that there's too many people here. Let's start there. There's 8 billion people. We can't handle it. We can't feed them based on our system, and we can't handle the carbon, and we're destroying the ecosystem of the water. And it's now not debatable. Coral is 80% gone all over the earth. And that is the first ecosystem to go, which is water. Why? Because we are emotionally unable to do the internal work that you learn about in a near-death experience to realize, calm down. You don't think spirit is watching us? Of course, the next 5 years are the most intense. We are now hearing her screaming. We're in the birthing room. She's yelling. Some of the wise people who are the midwives say, shh, sit down. I know exactly what to do. And other people are like, no, no. And other people just walk by the room, pretend they can't hear it. Avoid, deny, pretend. So the question you're asking, is anything big coming next? Yes. It's going to get worse before it gets better. This is just the beginning. The quality of the climate. It's so funny that I find it confusing to a logical person that, of course, if there's 8 billion people consuming and doing all the things to take care of the food, whether it's pesticides or whether it's calling Amazon and people get deliveries, or whether it's using AI with mass amounts of water and sources that are going to create a real problem, of course, we're going to hit a point where suddenly we go, oh, I think we overdid it. And that's when we'll wake up. So I don't know, the human condition doesn't learn. Think about your own life. The only way I notice change happens is when I'm being screamed at, when life demands, when it insists that I change. Left to my own devices, I like the rest of us, do my best to pretend, wait until it's really bad, and then hope somebody's going to come and fix it rather than be the activist. So I really encourage everyone the medicine is come to peace with what is, first things first. This is not a bad movie. You didn't get pushed on the bus. You volunteered to come on Earth in 2025, 26, 27. The children, your age group, they wanted to come here, to be here during this transition. Your mind, on the other hand, is going, huh? Now, why would I do that? but your soul is like, yeah, we're going to make a big difference and we're going to watch the change and we're going to be the first ones to hold that baby. So which is it? Do you remember that you chose to be here? Or do you feel like you're a victim? Good question. In terms of global politics and diplomacy, especially the role of the US, do you see a shift in the world order? You got the best questions. Are new alliances or tensions emerging? Every empire goes up and comes down. It is the nature of evolution. That's why all the planets are round. Everything goes up and goes down. This planet is a circular evolutionary spiral that moves like this. We are evolving, believe me, but it doesn't appear that way when we go into a destructive era because evolution comes out of pain. The baby comes out when the mother is screaming. We can't forget that there's nothing wrong. When there's death, there is birth. In Hawaii, they say it's just a change of address. Now, if you can think of death as a change of address and you can stop resisting, when we ask this question about global politics, America peaked somewhere about Obama, Kennedy. This was a very heightened state of America's ideals of democracy, and we're going into another movement. Is it good? Is it bad? I only know this. You couldn't stop that freight train. There's no way to change evolution's attention on letting things change. If the human condition were differently designed and we were kind by nature and we didn't have the default in our unconscious mind to be mean, there was a filter there that said, no, 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 you can't be mean to that person. That's inappropriate. But there is no filter. There is a design fault. This is my new book. I don't believe in astrology. There is a design fault in the psyche. And the medicine for that, once again, while you're listening to this podcast, is to turn on your awareness. Take a breath. Let's do it. Hold it at the top and then breathe out peace. I think America is definitely going to be instrumental in creating the tension on this planet to have people step up and not accept tyranny or fascism, or there's a real willingness for other countries and other people to show up in the face of what they don't believe in and stand up. And that's what Saturn and Aries starting, you said April, it's actually February of 2026. On the 15th, Saturn enters Aries for the next 2.5 years. And the lesson of Aries is the warrior. So we're going to see for the last 2.5 years was Pisces. We've all been sleepwalking, just pretending it's okay. But then we see what happened in Gaza. We're like, no, it's not okay. No, we can't keep sleeping when this is occurring. So then Saturn comes into Aries, and then we're like, all right, it's fire. Forget about Pisces and water. Now we're in fire and feisty and pissed off and strong. And I'm going to have to know what I'm going to do in my activism of making a difference to keep peace alive, to fight for love, to fight for kindness. I'm fighting for kindness every day. It's a funny way to put it. Here's the next question. We've heard of ancient civilizations like Atlantis and Lemuria. Do you believe when humanity returns to love, we'll rediscover the lost continents? Such a beautiful question. I think about those two places often. I live in a place here in Hawaii where it's referred to as Lemuria. People say that this is Mu, the land of Mu. And Atlantis has a fond memory and also a very painful one in my unconscious. I have a recall of being present in that time. It's a funny thing to say out loud. And once again, it's only because we're in this area of Aquarius that I can say it without being scared that the witches are going to get burnt and they're going to think I'm crazy. No, I do have memories. And I want to say that the lost continents don't need to be discovered. This new continent needs to be discovered. I mean, there's wisdom that came from that place that's been handed to some of us, and you're one of them. If you're listening and you find Evelyn interesting in her work in this podcast and this streaming, it's because some part of you is remembering. There was a time I remember where we sat in circle and we told stories and we had the ability to dream together and we knew how to pass the pipe and become intoxicated with whatever the medicine to be able to bring the voice of the other side. And we knew what it meant to die and change a dress and not be scared. And we knew what it meant to be birthed by women that had comfort in doing so and understood the rituals and the traditions that were passed on from our elders. That's pretty much gone now. But there's some of you in this room that remember it, that are listening. You're like, yeah, I miss that. I miss being part of a culture in a community where I felt I belonged and I understood who I was and my name had meaning. And I went through initiations with my family members, and I knew when to leave and when to come, and relationships were fluid, and we didn't get bound to things called marriage in a traditional old-fashioned way, but we did know when we were married. This is memories. And there's many of you that have the recall. It's like something's going off in the DNA, that new DNA you asked about. There is something being reactivated in the humans, and many of them are millennials and young people. And from the ages of 10 years old, they come in with the memory. Well, here's the good news. Atlantis and Lemuria left us some lessons. And one of them was don't pretend when things are going through a transition that they're not going through the transition. So I'm here to tell you in no uncertain terms, we are going through a transition. It presents itself with hurricanes and floods and feeling the word war and finding more and more negativity. The dark forces come in full bloom during an era like this. Do not make the mistake that something's wrong. As it happened in Atlantis and it happened in Lemuria, the difference is we now have social media and we now have a higher level of consciousness, and we just might be able to make it through this threshold with enough wisdom keepers like who we are listening to here on this platform to say, oh, I'm not so scared. We've done this before, Atlantis and Lemuria. And unfortunately, we didn't know how to face the change at the time. So we resisted. We went into denial. This time, I'm learning how to practice my own memory. This is what near death does for us, of everything's going to be okay. In April 2026, there's many. Now, that was one planet that shifted. But in April of 2026, Saturn enters Aries for the first time in 30 years. Neptune has entered Aries for the first time in, I'm going to say, 100 years or something like that. Uranus is the first time in 82 years, and Pluto, as I mentioned, is the first time in 250 years. All of them have changed signs in that 1 year, 2026 through 2030, but it starts in 2026. And the first planet did move in 2024. You are accurate. What does it mean? If one planet shifts on the outer plane, we feel a collective shift. So, for example, this is so interesting. In 1930, we found Pluto for the first time. We could see it with a telescope. It's a very, very far planet. It's very, very small. We can't see it with the human eye, but it was detectable by the high technology. And at that point, when Pluto, it's so interesting, when Pluto was found, it was 1930. Pluto talks about transformation, and it's not a very comfortable planet. It's like it's death and birth. So just like birth hurts, so does death. We cry in both instances. So it is Pluto rules those major moments in life where you're like, oh. So Pluto in 1930 was found right when Hitler began to take over the world and was making an effort to really, really scare the world to think that there would be a dictator who would determine who was allowed to live and who was allowed to die. And Pluto was at that time in Cancer. So Cancer is a sign of the emotional body. Pluto's the planet of transformation. Our emotional bodies were forced into really coming into commitment that we were going to take care of our family as a planet and not distinguish what color your skin is or what country you live in. Like that was really, Hitler really made us realize, uh-oh, everyone should be allowed to live in any country and everyone should be allowed. Well, now 2024, as you mentioned, Pluto changed signs and went into Aquarius for the first time in 250 years. Now, this Pluto, again, transformation in Aquarius. What is Aquarius? If during Hitler's era it was Cancer, which was the emotional body, it's when Freud was working, it's when the unconscious was named in 1930. In 2024, this was the entrance of Trump and AI and the entrance of a modern technology. We are now transforming in this era, the AI influence, new technology. Aquarius rules a non-human existence of high technology, brilliance, genius, very detached. So if Pluto was in Cancer during Hitler, that was the most human, emotional, psychology became part of our language. Pluto entered Aquarius in 2024, and all of a sudden AI became part of our language, which is not human. It's not emotional. It's completely the opposite. And there's Transformation City. So we are watching evolution of the human condition with language. As an astrologer, listen to me. I'm talking to you about very large patterns. Our grandmothers couldn't do this. There was no astrologer inside of cyberspace staring at you on a computer. This is the first time in the history of mankind, womankind, that I can look inside of a computer and talk to you in Vietnam. Are you kidding me? So, all that is to say, evolution is in place. The transition that we're in because of all the outer planets, just one planet shifted in 1930 and in 2024. All of them are shifting in 2025, 26, which means the matrix, the system of our human condition, the way we see the world, what we think we are is changing. There's a new DNA, there's a new program. I kind of feel it. And I'm doubtful because I'm so practical. So I'm a kind of person that wants to see the new DNA. I want to read about it from a scientific point of view. I'm strongly sensing there are beings like you, whoever's listening, and certainly Evelyn, who are advanced enough to start asking big, giant questions. Why am I here? Why are people being mean? How do I make a difference? Is there something about me that could actually contribute here? There's some beautiful questions being asked by the younger generation. That's a sign of new DNA. I don't know that I could say it scientifically confidently because I don't know enough about DNA. I can say that I see more and more people wanting to pray together, not from religious points of view, whether it's Christ or Buddha or whoever, but more from a deep inner knowing that, oh, that's right, I remember. I came down here as an experiment to see if I could stay awake inside the dream of being a human and not lose my heart. Oh, that's what I came here to do, to be totally myself and use my astrology chart to give me permission to be myself on my terms, turn off the judgment, and become a peace-loving being because I fall in love with me. That's why you're here. That's the new DNA. We're all going to fall in love. We're going to come into the human experience with an optimistic, this is what I imagine about the future. Children are born knowing they're loved, and they don't have to learn about their higher self. It's built into their childhood where the parents and their culture and their school teach them, like, you do have wisdom. You do have an off button. You don't have to be mean. You can take a breath. You don't have to be judged when you make a mistake. It's just a mistake. It's your friend. And there's this internal backdrop that people lean into. So instead of feeling scared or shy or embarrassed or self-conscious, the backdrop they lean into is, oh, I feel so good about myself. That's the way the human will come in. That's going to be the new DNA. So the human condition, rather than it coming with insecurity and self-consciousness and what's the color of my skin and what's the nature of my culture and what's my financial status and do I have children and did I get married and do I have good family? All those questions will fall away. The question will become, do I remember who I am? And can I help and heal the people in my world? And that's how we're going to get born. Like, believe it or not, it's going to come. We're going to operate as healers right from the get-go. I just made that up.